Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Question today, how investable is Fusion Strike? That's the set we're up to. We've been going through the whole Sword and Shield era. We're up to Fusion Strike today. We're looking at how investable the sealed product is. I'll get through the scoring system in a second, but let's just check out how nice looking these boxes are. In case you haven't watched any of the episodes that I've done before on the Sword and Shield era with sealed investing, please go check them out. But just a quick recap, in case you have seen it, or if you haven't, what we do is we score each set out of 15. So we focus on 3 components, each with a score out of 5. First thing we look at is the supply demand on the set. Second thing we look at is the hits. And the third thing we look at is the fun factor, both for keeping it sealed and perhaps ripping open in the future. So those 3 are scored out of 5. That gives us a total out of 15. The higher the score, the more investable the set. So Fusion Strike, arguably the best looking boxes in my opinion, the whole Sword and Shield era. So let's jump into criteria 1.
So criteria 1, print run. As you can see, I've jumped into the PSA pop report here, 32,600 cards graded. There is somewhat a correlation between the graded population and the print run. We've seen sets like Vivid Voltage that has over 200,000 cards graded. Like I think, obviously if there's massive grading populations, then it's been pretty heavily printed. But also there's got to be cards that people want to grade in a set. Like Evolving Skies has a huge graded population, but there's a bunch of hits inside there that people want to grade. So it sort of goes hand in hand, I guess. So looking through, obviously 32,600, you'd probably say there's 6 to 10 main hits and obviously 2 big hits, which we'll get to in a second in this set. Grading wise though, you can also pick up that card quality's been pretty good. You got to remember the other thing with Fusion Strike as we're scrolling through looking at graded population of each card. The other thing with Fusion Strike is it's still in rotation, like it's still in play. It's an E, classed as an E set. The D set's just gone out of rotation, which is all the way up to Shining Fates. So technically Fusion Strike could get a reprint at some stage, which obviously will drop the score. I think supply demand, this set has been overshadowed by the 2 before it. Obviously Evolving Skies, Celebrations, people probably dropped a heap of money on that, and then Fusion Strike came out and it was just left swinging in the wind a little bit. I feel like almost the popularity or the demand for Fusion Strikes almost picked up sort of 12 months after it was launched, when people realised how nice that Espeon was, how nice the Mew V was, and how nice obviously that Gengar was. So as a result, I'm going to give it a score 3 out of 5. Criteria 2, the hits. This set is a little bit underrated with the hits, particularly obviously those alt arts. We'll have a little bit of a look at the pricing on them. The most expensive and biggest chase card is that beautiful Gengar VMAX. We might drop it back down here to a year, but currently sitting at $210 US, nearly doubled in price, or probably has doubled in price in the last 12 months. Another one I wanted to jump into, and this is my favourite card of the set. In fact, it's probably my favourite evolution from the whole Sword and Shield era. That Espeon VMAX, that is just a stunning looking trading card. It's just a really nice looking card. I wouldn't be surprised if that maybe overtakes Gengar at some stage, but stayed a little bit more steady. Same sort of price of Gengar at the start of the year, $100. Obviously gone up a fair bit since then. We'll scroll through the Mew VMAX. We won't click on these, but Mew VMAX, a really nice looking card. The Mew V alt art, that also is a stunning looking card. There's the Rainbow Mew, so a bit of a Mew set. He's obviously on the box and the Elite Trainer box. That Inteleon VMAX is also a really nice card, sitting at $25. Genesect at $16. There's a few more hits. There's probably, there's 2 obviously belter hits, 3 or 4 to 5 big hits, or half a dozen big hits, and a few ancillary hits in this set. Some gold energies, which are nice, but we start ticking under $10 now, sort of getting to the end of the hits. That Elisa's Sparkle, that's also a really, really nice trainer card. So I actually think Fusion Strike is underrated with the hits, and I'm going to give it a score of 4 out of 5. I think the hits still have a fair bit of room for growth. I think they're really, really nice cards. I like the whole sort of psychic vibe to the whole Fusion Strike set with the hits. For that reason, I think it's deserving of a 4. Perhaps if it had a trainer gallery, that might have lifted it, say, to a 4.5 or 5, but we'll stick with a 4. Criteria 3, the fun factor. This is both the fun factor to rip them open in the future and also keep them sealed. I think both the booster box and the elite trainer box, they're the most vibrant and colourful and arguably best looking from the whole Sword and Shield era. The booster box currently sitting at $144, seen some big growth over the last 12 months. And the elite trainer box, pretty steady, but sitting at about $35. It's seen a couple of reprints, that elite trainer box. So I think this is a really, really fun set to keep sealed and display. It displays awesome. It adds some colour and pop to your collection. I also think streamers are going to have a fun time opening this, or just someone at home wanting to relive that nostalgia is going to have a fun time opening this set in the future. It's going to be massive if you pull that Espeon or Gengar or even that Mew or Inteleon. The only thing it could do with it, like I was saying before, is probably a trainer gallery, something to make you feel like you're getting more fun or more hits out of the box. So as a result, score 3.5 out of 5. This gives us a total score of 10.5 out of 15 for the investability. Again, higher the score, the more investable the set. But the big question,
so the big question, it is about investing. Can we make money? And Fusion Strike, in my opinion, if you look at the score we've given it, it's a B/B plus set in the Sword and Shield era. It's missing maybe the trainer gallery that the later sets gets, but geez, it has some good looking alt arts, and yes, they go for pretty good money. There's also some underrated cards and underrated alt arts in the set. I suppose it comes down to, and we talked about it a little bit before, but it comes down to whether or not the set gets reprinted. That would have an impact on future pricing. If it doesn't get reprinted, I feel like Fusion Strike came out after that huge wave of Evolving Skies and Celebrations, these two sort of blockbuster monster sets. And I felt like at the time Fusion Strike got a little bit left behind, for lack of a better word, and almost overshadowed by the sets before it. So to roll all the way back around to the question, can we make money? Is it going to go to $500 a box? Again, like some previous sets, I think it's a question of when. Fusion Strike has the fundamentals right. It's a good-looking set. It's a good-looking box to keep sealed. There's some great chase cards that you can pull. There's some fan favorite Pokemons in the set. Arguably, that Espeon, like I said before, is one of the nicest, or probably the nicest looking evolution from the Sword and Shield series in an old art. That is an incredibly nice looking card. I wouldn't be surprised if it overtakes that Gengar VMAX at some stage. Perhaps it will, perhaps it won't. If you can pick up boxes around that price that we were looking at before, Australian dollars, I think there's no better time to buy than now. I think slowly it will creep up over time, like most Sword and Shield sets, particularly if it doesn't get a reprint. I think it's actually going to go north fairly quickly. Probably after the next 12 months, 12 to 18 months, I think it'll see some slow increases, and then it'll see a bit of a spike after the 12 to 18 month mark. I'll get it out in a second. So I think Fusion Strike is a really solid B plus set. It's also a pretty safe investment. Don't think it's going to see the gains of something like Evolving Skies took, but it will see slow and steady gains across the years as a sealed product. Also, arguably, again, the nicest looking box. So I don't think it's a bad move. Jump on board, grab yourself some elite trainer boxes while they're still a really good price. Grab yourself some booster boxes while they're still a really good price. Jump in, invest in Fusion Strike. Pretty good set. I don't think you can go wrong.